My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Well, we are continuing our examination of the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15. The resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 is, by virtual universal consent, the same as the resurrection, the manifestation of the sons of God, the adoption of the body, the redemption of the body of Romans 8:23. Okay, so when we examine and when we realize that the redemption of Romans chapter 8 is set within the context of the then present martyrdom, suffering, persecution for the cause of Christ, and that Paul was promising his audience, the Romans, being persecuted for their faith, that their redemption, the completion of the adoption process, i.e. the resurrection, was coming in a little while. So, suffering and martyrdom and the promise of imminent vindication, imminent judgment, imminent glorification, imminent resurrection are found and linked together. I've been sharing with you some texts from the book of Revelation. Revelation 1, Revelation 3, Revelation 6. Well, guess what? This motif, this theme, this narrative, if you please, is found, as I've suggested, throughout the entirety of the book of Revelation. Look at Revelation chapter 12. John saw a woman, and this woman was clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, on her head a garland of 12 stars. She gave birth to a man-child. The adversary, the devil, attempted to slay the man-child. The man-child was caught up to heaven. There was war in heaven, and Satan was cast down. Now, I want you to notice verse 6. The woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there for 1,260 days. War broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. They did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. By the way, Revelation chapter 2 helps out in interpreting this, because the devil is seen personified there as Israel persecuting the church. You need to look at that, Revelation chapter 2, 9 and following. Well, I don't have time to develop that. Anyway, then a loud voice came saying in heaven, Now when? Satan cast out of heaven. Now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. Oh, but wait, the victory is not final. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives to death. See, this is a reiteration of Revelation 6. The souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for their testimony. Here, those who had the testimony of Christ have been slain. They did not love their life unto death. Watch. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, you who dwell on them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Watch this. Catch the power of this. For the devil has come down to you having great wrath. Why? Because he knows he has on a short time. A short time to do what? To persecute the saints. When the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the child. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, or a place where she was nourished for a time, times and a half time, from the presence of the serpent. Down to verse 16. The earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. What is he spewing out of his mouth? The attempt to kill the children, the seed of the son. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. what do we find here? We find persecution of the saints, an initial victory, Satan cast out of heaven. Well, what does Revelation 6 show us? Past persecution, martyrdom, they were given robes and told to rest for a little while. That is a symbol of initial victory, of the initiation of the victory, if you please. Revelation 6, they were told, rest only for a little while until your fellow brethren should be slain as you are, should be filled up. Revelation chapter 12, Satan attempted to kill the man-child. He couldn't. He persecuted the woman. She was protected. But more persecution was coming. Revelation 6, rest for a little while until your fellow brethren who should be slain should be filled up. Revelation chapter 12. Satan only has a little while. Folks, it's been 2,000 years since this was written. 2,000 years is not a little while. So we find right here in Revelation chapter 12. And by the way, what would happen to Satan at the end of that little while? He would be destroyed. Now watch, he's already been cast down. He has already been cast down. That's the binding of Satan, Revelation chapter 20. That's the initial victory. Robes and crowns, robes and crowns, robes and crowns. Okay, keep that in mind. But do you see where we have the initial victory waiting for the consummation? The consummation is the destruction of Satan. When would the destruction of Satan take place? At the end of the millennium. How far off was that? Oh, in a little while. Once again, what we find, martyrdom, the promise of vindication, the promise of victory coming in a little while. This time at the destruction of Satan. Revelation 6, it's at the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. You see, these are synchronous events. Bottom line, Revelation 12 agrees perfectly with Romans 8, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, 1 Peter, Revelation 1, Revelation 6, of the then present suffering of the first century saints, the promise of imminent vindication at the day of the Lord, at the coming resurrection, and it was coming very soon. Folks, we just simply cannot ignore these temporal parameters because of our preconceived ideas. Okay, we've got more in the book of Revelation, and the theme of then present suffering and the coming imminent vindication at the day of the resurrection. So we'll see you on the flip side.